Okay, we can go ahead and get started. We will have to go ahead and end things at 8:45, so I want to make sure that we have plenty of time to get to questions and everything if we need to. But thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Haley Leonard Nenninger. I am the International Student Counselor here at Southeast Missouri State University. If you attended one of the previous sessions before with our athletics, you might have seen my face already. And I've seen plenty of your faces already. And so I'm very excited to be able to do another presentation with you today and give you some helpful information about our transportation around Cape. So Cape Girardeau is not a huge city. We are kind of like a middle ground sized area. And so we do have a couple options in terms of transportation. Public transportation is just not a huge thing in cities that are our size. And so we don't have a subway or things like that, but we do have a public bus system and we do have a couple paid options available for students as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with everybody so that they can kind of see what I'm doing here. Okay. Um, So I have the website pulled up for our public transportation system called CTA. The Cape Girardeau County is serviced by CTA, which is a public bus service. They also have public taxi services, which you students have access to at any time during their scheduled hours. So you are able to take the CTA buses, which are larger shuttle vehicles that can carry about 20 people at a time. Those are actually our transportation vehicles for the campus as well. So they can take you to classes across campus. And they can also take you into town. The one that goes into town is free for students to ride, and it goes to things like the grocery store, or it goes to our technical stores like Best Buy and stores like the bank and a lot of really useful places for students to travel to. And so that bus is serviced by CTA. If you need transportation outside of the bus hours, or if you would like to go somewhere specific that's not like a store or a place on campus, you can actually contact their taxi service. So CTA has a public taxi service that is just, if you're familiar with Uber or Lyft, it's similar to that, where you can actually have them come and pick you up. So this site that I'm on now is just a really, really helpful website for CTA's service. This website has their hours, their routes, their schedule. When you scroll down here, you can kind of see the different options. You can see their route, you can see some more information about them, and you can also access their phone number. The phone number up here, that 573 number, anytime you see a number that has 573 in it, it's going to be a Cape Girardeau service. So you can save that number in your phone and contact them. I will say, when it comes to their transportation service, typically they're not going to be quite as quick as, say, Uber or Lyft or things like that. And it's just because they're servicing the larger Cape Girardeau area and they're quite a bit cheaper. I want to say it's only a couple dollars to get across town. It's very, very cheap in comparison to some of our Uber or Lyft prices, which are quite a bit higher. But you do pay a convenience for that. So Uber and Lyft, if they're going to get you in about 5 minutes, you're going to be paying a difference with that. But they are an available service and they're quite reliable in our area. We have the Cape Girardeau CTA stop on campus. So if you need to get somewhere in town, there is a stop that is right next to our building, which is called the International Village. That stop is for that bus to take you into town. They can make additional stops as well. I think that it kind of is depending on how many people they have in their bus at one time, but they usually have a very set schedule that keeps going around every 45 minutes. So even if you miss the bus, it will be back around within the hour. So this is just a really good resource for learning a little bit about CTA before you're here, so that you can be comfortable with contacting them. This is also what our vehicles look like, this like van service here with CTA on the side of it. Um, Another good thing actually about CTA is something that they just recently did within the last year is they actually created an app. So this app allows you to be able to track their service as well and request a CTA vehicle. That app is called Trip Shot. It's right here on this flyer, and this is a flyer that we will be sharing with everybody come a little bit closer to the beginning of the semester and the end of the summer. But for anybody who is interested in kind of getting ahead on things, I'll also be posting a lot of this information on our Facebook page. We have a Facebook group for everybody who's coming in the fall. And so if you are already admitted and you're already trying to get excited and try to learn a little bit more, then that's a really good resource place to ask questions and things like that too. So this CTA app, students are able to download it and they're able to track it right on their phone, which makes the service a lot easier. You can also contact their taxi service from that app as well. So if you need to go somewhere specific, you can do it all in one place. It just makes it really, really easy. They have their bus hours on here, which are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30. But I do believe that their taxi personal service does have extended hours beyond that that go into Saturday and Sunday as well. So that is just our public transportation service. Just a very, very quick overview of it. Our other transportation services, like I mentioned before, we do have Uber and we have Lyft. Um, I am not personally like familiar with services outside of those two. I have used those two before, and I would say that they're pretty reliable. Another really awesome thing about I think Uber is that they have like a women's only option if you are wanting to kind of have like a woman driver, or if you just feel more comfortable having a woman driver and a woman only service, they do offer that as an option for you to be able to choose for your ride as well. And I think that a lot of people have taken advantage of that, especially late at night and things where they just feel much more comfortable with somebody of their own gender. And so those are just two options there. We also, in terms of transportation in longer distances, we actually do have a couple options for that as well. Whereas a lot of students will kind of take rides together to go to places like the St. Louis airport or further places like that. Um, if they don't have somebody to go with them to pay for gas or to split the fare, they will take Uber or Lyft to those longer places. There is a transportation system to St. Louis, the airport specifically, that is available for students. It's very new, so we still are learning a bit more about it. But we've had some students take it already, and that service is actually called Flixbus. I believe that this is offered in a couple other countries as well. This is something that is very new to our area and to Missouri in general, our state. But Flixbus is a very, very cheap, affordable option to be able to get from the St. Louis airport to Cape Girardeau. Some students catch this bus to go back to St. Louis for if they need to do shopping or anything like that at one of the larger international stores. And so it seems to be very reliable from what I've heard from people, and it's very, very cheap. Whereas you might pay like a really, really high fee on Uber. Like I sometimes it can be anywhere from like $200 sometimes just to get to the airport. Um, this Flixbus service is much, much, much cheaper than that. I think the last time I heard it was closer to like 20, maybe $30 to get straight to and from. Now, the Flixbus, as far as I'm aware, does not go anywhere except the airport. So you want to make sure that if you need to go somewhere else, that you have alternative transportation once you get to either Cape Girardeau or the airport, because it's only like a one-way ride. And I think that they only do one service a day as well. But you have to make your ticket in advance. You'll have to purchase that and have your ticket ready to go before you arrive. I don't think that they do purchases like in person. So you want to make sure that you get that before it fills up because they do tend to fill up quite quickly. Another option for transportation on the ground is going to be our train service. Missouri actually has a train service called Amtrak, which is a relatively affordable alternative to transportation. Our closest Amtrak to here is actually in Carbondale, but a lot of which is I want to say about 30 minutes drive from Cape. But Amtrak is a great service to get you across the United States if you don't want to fly. If you're wanting to go on vacation around the states, or if you just want to visit friends or family in other states, Amtrak is an affordable option instead of flying. A lot of students will take this to Chicago, which is about a 2 hour flight or a 6 hour drive from St. Louis. So it's even further from Cape Girardeau. So we don't tell students to like use Uber if at all possible for that. It would be a very, very expensive ride. But taking the Amtrak train or taking one of the alternative options would be an awesome option. And with Amtrak, you do have to buy your ticket in advance, like you have to do with a plane ticket or other train tickets from other places. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this at this point, but you can enter in your destination city where you're coming from, and it'll give you the fare and the times that they are going. They are a full train service, so they do have multiple options for transportation times. The other alternative transportation that we do have outside of Cape is we actually do have an airport. So the CGI airport is our smaller airport outside of Cape. Um, so it's called CGI, and this is kind of what the building would look like on the outside. It's not a huge airport. It only has about two terminals or so. But CGI is our main source for if students are needing to fly in from Chicago and they don't want to take any kind of like rides or they don't want to take a train or anything. This airport does take flights straight from Chicago. So if you do land there and you would like to get to Cape, or if you would like to leave Cape to go to Chicago or go to Dallas or go to Florida, they do offer those flights, which is really, really nice. There's not a lot of smaller, like college towns that have access to their own airport like this. So it is something that we love to promote to students or prospective students as well, that we do actually have an airport that will fly out of Cape and will go to some of the major cities around the United States for a pretty reasonable price as well. Um, so on their website, you can see where they're going. You can get tickets to the different places that they offer, and I believe that they're going to be expanding their cities in the future. So the more and more students we have that use their service, the more and more cities they'll introduce and they'll have available for you. So that I believe covers probably 99% of the transportation we have in Cape Girardeau. It's a pretty simple like transportation service. A lot of people will also, in terms of personal transportation, we have a ton of students that use electric scooters and electric bikes. There is a couple shops in town that sell them. I don't think that they rent. The last time I talked to them, they said they do not rent, but a ton of students sell their electric bicycles or electric scooters on Facebook Marketplace and different things like that. Um, and that will allow you to get to most of Cape. You having a car is very convenient. It makes it a lot easier to get to long distances specifically. But you are able to get to about 90% of Cape just by having an electric scooter or bike. Excuse me. So that is something that I do highly recommend for students who are wanting to be more independent and be able to go to the store without having to request an Uber or take the bus. But yeah, um, I think that about covers most of it. But if anybody has any questions, I think I'm going to go ahead and open it up to you guys. I left it kind of short and sweet so I don't overwhelm you with a lot of stuff. But please, please, please feel free to put your questions in the chat, and I'm more than happy to answer those. Um, Okay, does Getting Around Cape have any student ambassadors or guides for the first 2 weeks of fall? Sometimes the hard that is a good question. So the first couple of weeks, we really do walk hand in hand with our students to be able to um, guide them on the experiences in transportation and places to go in Cape for certain things, in medical needs and all sorts of things. That's why it's really important for our students to come to their in-person orientation and not just skip that. It is very, very vital and actually required for our students who are coming to go to that. But this is a big reason for it. So we actually have student ambassadors who are working during that time to answer your questions. And we have a lot of student leaders who are on campus at that time. I mean, like our presidents of like our Indian Student Association, our African Student Association, our Japanese Student Association, all of those student presidents, a lot of them are already on the campus and kind of walking around. And so if somebody really needs just somebody to go with them and to step on that bus and guide them step by step, we like to get them connected with our student presidents, and they're usually more than happy to kind of walk with people during that time. But when it comes to getting to Cape from like the airport or things like that, we give as much guidance as we possibly can through email. We try to provide that guidance through our online orientation as well to try to give people the ability to get here. And once you're here, that's when we really step in and kind of hold your hand a little bit more, at least for those first couple of days, to allow you to be more comfortable and confident in accessing the transportation in Cape. Also, another thing with the bus stops, we have students who are coming to our orientation who will be attending SEMO. We ask that they download the Trip Shop app pretty early on so that they can see the different stops and the routes of the buses, because they can track the routes and you can see the bus routes in live time on that app. So that if you are waiting at a stop and you don't know how far away the bus is, or you don't know if you just missed it, you can actually look at that app and it will tell you exactly where each of the buses are. Are there safe bike lanes and routes from campus to downtown Cape? Does SEMO partner with any local bike shops? So I've been trying to work on a discount or some kind of rental thing with our bike shops. Unfortunately, right now there's not anything, but it is something that I've been continuously working on since last year to try to see if there would be something that we can work on with our with SEMO and the bike shops. So right now there's not any kind of partnership. I'm not sure about a SEMO student discount, unfortunately, because a lot of the town or a lot of the places in Cape, stores, restaurants, a lot of those local places actually do a SEMO discount. So if you have your student ID, you can ask for a SEMO discount, and a lot of times there will be one, whether that be 10% or like a free drink or anything random like that. It's always a good idea to keep your student ID on you and ask for that because it's very, very possible that they do have a student discount. I'm not currently aware of a student discount with the bike service, but I'm more than happy to get that information, and I'll have that ready before orientation this fall. So I should have some more information about that before you guys arrive. There are some bike lanes around Cape. Most students usually end up using the sidewalks, but there are small bike lanes that run along most of the streets in Cape. Um, some of the roads are a little bit older. They haven't been repaved. But as Cape has a lot of construction on our roads. Within the next couple of years, they're really starting to upgrade our roads and to repave everything, so it's nice and new. They are putting in more, like, I guess, cleaner looking bike lanes. So there are some that are there now. They're just not always like noticeable in a way, but they are available for the students so that you can be able to get safely from campus to where you need to across town. Like I said, if there's not available ones, we usually have sidewalks all over Cape as well that people will use those. I see people on their electric scooters on the sidewalks every single day, multiple times a day. So I know that students are getting around town pretty safely with them. But as, like I said, as they kind of repave the roads and go about that process, they will become better for student accessibility. But thank you for your questions. Does anybody have anything else they can think of in terms of transportation? I'm also more than happy to answer any questions about orientation as needed, or if you have a question about getting from St. Louis to Cape or Chicago to Cape or anything like that. I do work in our orientation stuff as well, so I'm more than happy to answer that. Uh, One thing I will say, if you're not able to get a driver's license relatively quickly after you get here, I would at least recommend getting a state ID. So your state ID is just evidence that you are in Missouri. It is just a Missouri kind of card with your face on it and your identification. Um, that doesn't allow you to drive or anything. It's just for your personal identification so that you don't have to carry your passport. We really, really don't suggest that people just carry their passports on them while they're in the United States, just in general. If you have a safe place to put it while you are out and about, that is what we recommend. And that state ID, I think, is about like $50, maybe not even that much. And you just go to the licensing bureau in Cape, and anybody can access that pretty quickly. So just a little tip. But okay. If nobody has any additional questions about anything, that's totally fine. If you think of something later, obviously you're more than welcome to contact our office either at international@semo.edu. I'll actually put it in here for you. Um, you probably all have seen something from this email already, but it is something that's very, very helpful for any kind of questions before you get here. Once you have been admitted and you are wondering about classes or orientation or things about that are past the application stage, you can reach out to DSO@semo.edu, and that's going to be where your questions about your legal status, visa questions, or things like that. Um, and so that is a generalized email for a lot of questions about getting to Cape and being in Cape and staying in your legal status as well. So those are really important emails as well. Um, how long does it take to get accepted if you're already applied and you're on the seventh week? So a lot of times when it kind of depends on if you're undergrad or graduate, and it also depends on a couple different factors as well. As far as I know, 7 weeks seems a little long, but it really could be for any reason, whether that be you're missing some kind of document, or if you are a graduate student. I know sometimes our graduate departments can take a little longer for approval. I would really reach out to International if you're not quite sure what you're missing. If it's like your unofficial transcripts, your unofficial English test scores, or anything like that, you'll probably want to reach out to international@semo.edu, that email I put in here, and they can tell you exactly what's going on. I wouldn't wait too much longer, just because like if you're wanting to do a visa appointment before coming, if you're coming in fall, if you want to do a visa appointment before then, I know some of those are starting to close up really quickly. So definitely reach out to International, and they're going to be more than happy to help you and tell you exactly what you're missing or what problem there is. Um, is there a live tracking app for the SEMO shuttle, and do the city buses sync with it? Yes. So that was actually that, where is it at? The Trip Shop app that I talked about before. I can pull it back up real quick. Just give me 2 seconds. Um, but that Trip Shop app is available on the App Store or Google Store, I think it's called, Google Play Store. Here, and I'll share my screen one more time with that too. Um, so, hello. Oh, okay, there we go. So, this QR code is just able to allow us to easily let students download the app really quickly. But the app is in the App Store and you can access it at any time. And so whenever you access it, you actually do want to make sure that you enter this CGCTA code that's right here above the QR code. That CGCTA allows you to specifically access the Cape Girardeau bus routes, so that you can track the shuttles and you can see where they are at all times. And you can actually request a taxi from that as well, I believe. So that is oh, and it's also where they will make announcements if if they're not running a shuttle a certain day for some reason. That will also have that information for you as well. Is there support for prospective students to get visa appointment dates on time? So we try to offer as much like advice as we possibly can for students in terms of their visa appointments. There's only so much that we can offer just because each visa appointment is different and there's not a guarantee for anything. We offer like pointers for the actual appointment itself. In terms of getting the appointment on time, there's not really any kind of influence or anything, unfortunately, that we have with the agent or with the consulates. So us as DSOs, we're not able to request an appointment on your behalf or anything like that, unfortunately. But we definitely have been telling students to keep their eye on that appointment scheduling system every single day to make sure that they're not missing any kind of appointment opportunities, because they also will have cancellations as well. So people will back out of their appointment and that will open appointments that are a lot sooner. And then we also recommend calling the consulate as well if they have a cancellation or if they have a no-show for that day. Sometimes you can get a same day appointment, very rarely, but like if they have an appointment that is available that day because somebody can't make it or they canceled, sometimes you can get in a little bit quicker too. But yeah, unfortunately, there's not a ton that we can do in terms of speeding up like an appointment or getting you something a little bit quicker. Does anybody else have any questions? Which would you recommend? Obtaining an international driving permit in Japan and using it in the US, or getting a US driver's license instead? I'm hesitant to carry my passport with me everywhere, so I'm wondering which option would be more practical. Yeah, so I would probably recommend if you have the opportunity to at least at first you can right away get a Missouri identification card. It's a state ID. That is not a driver's license, but it is something that everyone can get. There's no test or anything like that. You just bring your passport with you and they will give you that identification. So that way you can leave your passport in your dorm or in, a safe spot that cannot be stolen or damaged or anything, because we really don't recommend people carrying their passport around all the time just for sake of you might lose it or it might get damaged or something like that. So definitely as soon as you arrive, you probably want to get that state ID, and that will allow you to be able to use it like your passport. So that proves that you're in Missouri and that you have schooling here and that you are living in Cape as well. In terms of the driver's license, I probably would personally recommend getting a US driver's license upon arrival, just because there are some limitations with an international driver's license that I believe will probably keep you from being able to do things like maybe rent a car or things like that. So that you have as much freedom as possible and that you have the ability to purchase a car or anything like that when you get here, I would personally recommend just going ahead and doing a US driver's license, which, excuse me, that does include a test. You will have to do a driver's test, and I believe there is a written test that same day. But a lot of our students usually end up passing that the first time. You just want to make sure that you're familiar with the rules of the road and that you're comfortable with taking that test, and you'll be fine. Anybody have any questions? Okay, which would you recommend for graduate students, on-campus accommodation or off-campus? So graduate students are a little bit different. So depending on your age, I believe that residence life actually will not allow you to live on campus. It is something that I think you have to register directly with our campus residence life with. So if you are a graduate student and you are wanting to live on campus, that is possible. And I always recommend living on campus if at all possible, just because not only are you so much closer to your classes, but you are so much more involved on the campus. You have such a better time adjusting to the campus life, and you're not able to just shut yourself away in your apartment or in a house. It's so easy just to like go home and to like not bother with anything and not get involved in anything. But students have such a better college experience. They have that full, true college experience when they're here on campus and they're able to do the activities and they're able to go to classes on time. And they can sleep in until 5 minutes before classes and run to class on campus. You can't really do that when you're living off campus, but we do understand that some people do have the preference to live off campus for one reason or another. And so for graduate students, we have been recommending that they live off campus just because, mostly due to like age restrictions and stuff. But if you're more of a traditional graduate student, I want to say probably in your early 20s or things like that, you should be able to register for a dorm on campus. And like I said, I'm a little biased. I will recommend living on campus if at all possible, but we know for some people that's not possible. So for our graduate students, we say that it's entirely your choice, but if you are interested in living on campus, you'll have to reach out to Residence Life for that process. But undergraduate students are required. If you're under 21 and you have not taken courses at a US institution for 2 semesters, you are required to live on campus in a dorm. Anybody else? Does the school accommodate one person for rooms? Yes. So the campus does have accommodations for one person. If you don't want to have a roommate, that's okay. We have availability in, I think so. Towers definitely does. I want to say Towers South and or maybe it's west and north. South and east do not. I think those are only like double occupancy rooms. But single occupancy is available in Towers North and West, and then also in our dorm Vandiver. Vandiver offers some single person dorms as well. And they're kind of on opposite sides of the campus. So depending on if you are going to be going into more of like the liberal arts and things, you might want to stay on one side of the campus versus the other side. Towers is much closer to like our scientific, computer science, teaching, health sciences, that sort of thing. So a lot of our international students stay in Towers, and it's actually a really, really awesome community for our international students as well because so many students stay in Towers. So we usually recommend it for international students to stay there so they have a community right when they get on campus. And then you can transfer dorms if you want. It's not like you don't have to stay there the entire time you're at a dorm. If you're not happy with it, I believe 2 weeks after you get there, you can actually transfer your dorm. Or if you're just not getting along with your roommate or things like that. Um, if you're more on like the languages, history, English, things like that, you probably want to stay on Vandiver's side, which is the south side of campus, um, just to make it easier for you to walk to your classes in the day. I probably have time for one or two more questions if anybody has any last minute things that they can think of. And then we'll go ahead and end it after that. Thank you so much, Esther, for joining us. I appreciate you coming and asking so many really good questions. There will be another 101 session soon. Let me see if I can see the date for that. But you are able to access those 101 sessions just like you are from here as well, just like you did this one. Let's see. Next date from that. Mhm. Sorry. Mm, Okay, here we go. So I believe that the next one. Hmm. Well, it looks like I can't find that, unfortunately, but I think that the next one is not going to be until early July. So definitely keep an eye on any kind of communications that you're getting from your agents, or if you're getting a direct email from us. We also are able to let you know the specific dates, but it's the same time for all of these. Every single one is the exact same time. So you're able to join just as you did for this one. But the next one I think is going to be early July, maybe July 6th. Um, so we'll have more information about that oh, July 8th. Thank you, Kennedy. I appreciate it. So July 8th, we'll see you guys again. But I want to thank you guys all for coming, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day or night, and that we hope to see you for our future sessions. And if you have any questions at all, like no matter how silly they feel or how complicated, please reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to help you with what we can. Okay, but thank you everybody for coming, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. All right. Bye bye.